I want to thank Delegate Kaiser and Senator Maddalena for their leadership over many years of our delegation. And I know that when I amplify our excellent Council President's remarks, and he's also chairman of our Transportation Committee, that I'm speaking to the converted. Of course, nobody wants an infusion of funds in the Transportation Trust Fund more than MDOT, and I'm aware of that. And I understand that your role here tonight, Secretary Mobley and Administrator Wells, is in part to reassure we don't want investors to panic. We don't want land values to drop. But I think it's important that we not convey a false sense of security. And so when I hear, for example, the detailed response to Delegate Carr's questions about the fine points of the design of the Purple Line at Connecticut Avenue, I've come to the conclusion that the likelihood of there being a Purple Line is very slim. Administrator Wells, you joined us a couple years ago at an event of a group that I co-founded called Purple Line Now, and we were delighted to have you there. And Mr. Kay, you've been to a number of our meetings, and we had our last fundraiser, and it was celebrating the 10th anniversary of this advocacy group for transit, and people were congratulating themselves on the 10th anniversary. I said, no, you don't understand. We better not have a 20th anniversary. State funding runs out in 2015 for the Purple Line and the Corridor Cities Transitway. And as the Council President pointed out, you know, I sit in that chair regularly, and we talk about master plans. We talk about great visions for biotechnology. We talk about job growth. We talk about competitiveness. And every single one of those pending master plans depend upon the availability of new transit lines, which are not happening, which are not funded, and which grind to a halt in 2015. So I feel that this conversation is a bit disconnected from what I think is a more likely today's scenario. And I've had this conversation with our planning board and with our business community that maybe we really need to consider that the future really is automobile-based sprawl, that we aren't able to invest in the vision that we've been promoting in all of our land use plans for the last several decades, and certainly the decade that I've been on the county council. These projects will not be built if we don't replenish the state's transportation trust fund. There is a short-term window, and that window is closing. And I understand that everyone in the room, every one of our delegates and senators, and everyone in MDOT senses that this is the right thing to do. And so the question is, beyond this room, what does it take beyond this room to get this urgency to a level where it's as important as casinos or pit bulls? And I don't know necessarily what the answer to that is. Here in Rockville, we're trying to do what we can to use our bully pulpit to bring attention to the situation. But as the Council President pointed out, other jurisdictions don't sense the same urgency. Traffic isn't a big problem in many other parts of the state. And even in parts of the state like our neighbor Prince George's County, where traffic is a problem, it's not front of mind. It's not their biggest issue. I've spoken to a number of legislators there. And so then if a statewide gasoline tax, which would be the preferred option, is not politically feasible, what's options B, C, D, E, and F? And can we advance a local-based transportation source? Can we be cut loose and allowed to raise our own revenue through a local gas tax or a local sales tax or a tolling authority? Or what can we do? Because the time is drawing near where we're really radically going to have to revise our own view of our own economic potential. We're in direct competition with Virginia for jobs, and we're going to fall further behind Virginia when it opens hot lanes in December and the Silver Line next year. I think the impending threat to our economic competitiveness is dire. And again, I don't want land values to drop. I don't want, you know, investors to panic, but I'm not seeing it happening. I'm not seeing a Purple Line. I'm not seeing a Corridor Cities Transitway, and therefore I'm not seeing a Shady Grove smart growth development. I'm not seeing a Great Seneca Science Corridor with all of the hope and promise that that provides for science and cures for disease and alleviation of suffering. I'm not seeing a White Oak Science Center. I'm not seeing those things occur unless we can get transit. And we can't get transit unless we replenish the Transportation Trust Fund.